Good evening, everyone. I would like to call to order this Committee of the Whole meeting for April 13th, 2026. And I want to begin by acknowledging we are on the traditional territory of the Coast Salish people, and in particular our near neighbors, the Chiano First Nation and also the Sauk First Nation as well. I also want to recognize that there are several of our well-respected and, dare I say, beloved community members who are facing some tough times right now. And I just want to let them know that there are many of us who are thinking and praying for both them and their families. So, now committee, we have a full agenda, which will begin with presentations about the grant and aid process, part 2. And this will be followed by public participation. And as we get further into the agenda, we'll have a due consideration of the grant and aid applications. But for right now, I want to ask if there are any additions to the agenda, or if I can get someone to approve for me.
Move adoption.
Okay, seconded by Councillor Donaldson. Okay, great. And all in favor? Yes, we're all in favor. Great. Okay, so we'll next move into the presentations for the 2026 grant and aid. We had an original list, and we've had some changes to that. And I think we still don't have the compost folks online yet. Okay, we're going to next go to the Construction Federation of BC, the Forge, and Candy Crozier and Travis Shoup. Great, welcome. And I just will mention the presentations are a maximum of 5 minutes. So, okay, great.
Hi, my name is Candy Councillor, and I work for the Construction Foundation of BC, and I want to thank you all for allowing me to come here and speak. Travis couldn't make it tonight, he had another engagement, so it'll just be me. So I wanted to talk to you about the Forge. So I work with the Construction Foundation of BC, and we support tradespeople getting into apprenticeship and onto Red Seal. And over the years, there has been an enormous amount of addiction and mental illness in the trades. And so what we have started to do is create a program called The Forge. So we recently purchased the Savages Clubhouse in Langford, and we're going to create it into a recovery hub for people in the trades that have gone to treatment and have come out of treatment and go back to work and have no resources to support them. So it's 95% likely that people will fall back into addiction once coming out of recovery and not having those supports. So we are building the building. We're hoping to open it up in August. It was originally a rebuild, and now it's been a tear down. And so we really need a lot of support of the community. We've got other communities, about 7 communities that help us and support us financially with grants and donations. And so we're coming to Metchosin because it's evident that there's a lot of construction workers in the area, in Sauk and Metchosin and Langford. And so this recovery hub will help, excuse me, will help a lot of people with counseling services. Out of the hub, we'll be running peer-to-peer support networking. We also have recovery coaches. We have currently 2 recovery coaches right now on staff that are coaching approximately between 10 and 15 each already. And it's been only a few months, and it's already so successful, and it really, really helps the people that need this. And we will work towards getting beds. This gentleman right here will talk about Soberfest, and so we work in partnership with Soberfest as well to get treatment beds for people. And yeah, I think that's it. So we're just really looking forward to building a relationship with Metchosin and the community members and getting hopefully their support in this initiative.
Mrs. Crozier, thank
Councillor,
you.
yeah.
Councillor, thank you. Crozier, sorry. Are there any questions for Ms. Crozier? Thank you very much. It's a very inspiring program.
I apologize. This is my first time. This was a little bit intimidating.
You did very well. Thank you. Okay, we will next.
Councillor Shukin. Sorry, we do have the Teams member on now.
Oh, okay, great. Okay, so I think we're looking for Haya Aldouri from the Compost Education Center. And Haya, if you're there, please, you have 5 minutes.
Hiya, sorry, just a sec. We don't have you up on the screen. Maybe we'll move on to the next speaker.
And in the meantime, I'm going to turn to the folks from the Machosen Growing Society, Bonnie Bogner and Sarah Parson.
Hi there. I'm Bonnie. I'm the president of the Machosen Growing Society, and Sarah is the vice president. And we're here to talk to you today about the community garden that we've been working on creating. We're quite a new organization in Machosen, but we feel like we've come a long ways in a short period of time. So we did grow a garden last year, but we've considerably expanded our infrastructure this year. So we have a lot more beds that we're going to be growing. And we've been really fortunate so far with the community participation. There's been a lot of in-kind donations as well as hundreds of hours of community work that has gone into creating the garden so far. We've done a number of fundraisers ourselves as well. So we've done things like plant sales. We just finished a successful blueberry sale. We've got some other fundraisers planned over the year, but they won't be enough to actually build the infrastructure. And so what we're really needing is not ongoing funding, but that infrastructure funding. And so that's what we're looking at right now. The reason that we're looking to you for the possibility of some support in creating that infrastructure. So although we're a new community organization, this is our second year growing a garden. And we already have a plan in place for the garden for this coming year. We've built all the beds and we started planting, which brings us to the real need for the infrastructure funding, and that is to get water into the garden so that we're able to irrigate it properly. And we did hand watering last year. We have a lot more that we're growing this year, or hoping to grow. So we're going to need to increase our capacity to water. So what we would really like to do is to run water back to the garden area and to put in drip irrigation with timers so that we're watering as efficiently as possible and we can grow the maximum amount of food that we're able to. And for anybody that isn't aware of it, we're located behind the tennis court. So we're right here in the community, and I'll pass it over to you to share a bit more.
Okay. Yeah, so I'm Sarah and I'm the vice president of this group. Yeah, sure, sorry. So we've got about 14 to 16 active members at the moment. So we're a very small but pretty energetic group of people. But we've also expanded into connecting with a lot of community groups in Machosen, specifically the Seniors Resource Centre. We're hoping to get them involved. In fact, they're coming to do a garden tour on Wednesday this week, and we're hoping to ask them what they might like to get out of the garden, looking for a lead from them. Specifically, we think they might be interested in us having some raised beds and perhaps being involved in some growing, or being recipients of some of our excess produce in the fall. But we're really open to ideas from them. We've also reached out to the 4-H group. This is the first, so this is a Machosen group of young people who are stewarded by some adults in Machosen who are very into growing and sustainable agriculture. Now, they haven't in the past had the ability to have a gardening module, for example, but with the development of the community garden, it gives them a central point in which they can go and learn about gardening, and we can help them to use that as a resource and help young people to grow and learn about gardening in our community. So we're hoping to be both a teaching garden as well as a garden where local people from Machosen can actually come and grow things, share in community, care for the garden, and cooperatively harvest the produce as well. We do anticipate that we're going to have more harvest than we as members are going to be able to use. So we're looking to share the bounty with other people in the community, people who are in need, who don't have access to healthy food. Also, we may look at extending to Goldstream Food Bank or the First Nations Community Cupboard. We're just looking to actively build those links at the moment. Our desire is to build a beautiful and productive garden in the heart of Machosen, which supports the growers and the community and will be a lasting asset for all. We will be very appreciative of any amount of financial aid that can come from council. We very much welcome any questions that you might have, and we would also love to extend the offer to anyone on council who'd like to come and visit the garden to connect with us, and we'd be happy to show you around. Thank you for your time. Thank you.
Great. Ms. Bogner and Ms. Parsons, thank you very much. Any questions? No, thank you very much, and congratulations on the good work. We've seen this grow from pretty much just a concept to being hands in the ground kind of thing. So great. Thanks. Okay, So next we'll hear from the Machosen Preschool Society and Miss Townsend.
Okay, hopefully I will be short and sweet and ask for the correct thing this year. So we were asking for some money towards picnic tables for the outside of the preschool, kind of in the courtyard area. That kind of pairs up with the Village Square's vision of that being kind of a community use space that's really welcome to all ages. Right now there's several kind of dilapidated larger picnic tables, but not furniture that's kind of tailored to kid size, just for their safety and their accessibility. It would be lovely to have, we're thinking about 3 6-foot long cedar, or they also have a yellow pine for slightly less, that's a locally sourced wood. Picnic tables to kind of put out so the kids could sit and dine collectively outside or do artwork outside and kind of build that kind of inside visibility and outside being part of the community. They would be obviously welcome to other people in the community to use, whether there's a craft fair and they want to use them inside to set up a photo thing. I know we've been to ones like that where they've used hay bales before, or they can be carried over possibly for the markets in the summer. Kind of something as a community asset that would also help the preschool really enjoy their space. Okay. Any questions?
Yes, through the chair, I wondered, Tara, we have already made a commitment to the Village Center group. I placed a call to Shannon Carmen to ask, just to check in with her, but I didn't hear back. Have you had a conversation with them? Are they good? It sounds like it fits perfectly, yes. But I thought best to ask.
With Shannon, yes. About the Village Square, yes, they came and did, I can't remember his name, Mitchell. Bob came and did a presentation, kind of showed us their vision of the Village Square. Wonderful, beautiful idea. The preschool would love it. I've had words with Molly next door with the Machosen Wellness, kind of like what they see looking out the window, what they would appreciate, kind of garden beds, kids, they do appreciate that, and that's kind of in cohesion with them and with the Village Square. This is kind of like an easy stepping stone before we get into this big thing. I think this kind of stays, it's modular, which is nice. So if it moves, it kind of can evolve with the space as it grows. Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, next we have Ian Johnson from the Rewired Recovery Foundation.
Thank you. Hi, my name is Graham Knapp. I'll be representing Rewired and Soberfest this evening. I'd like to thank the mayor and the council for giving us this opportunity. I'm the intake coordinator with Rewired Recovery, and I've been clean and sober for over 12 years myself. I'm on the front lines receiving emails from people and their families who are struggling with addiction. People pour their hearts out to me in a desperate need of help, and I assist them through the intake process, and we do our best to get them the help they need. Soberfest is actually a local Machosen charity. It's based here, made up entirely of volunteers. We're doing something no one else is doing, which is providing free or low-cost addiction treatment to people. We call it the missing middle, helping people before they end up on the streets and things like that. When we started, the goal was just to send one person to treatment. Since 2022, we've sent 104 people to various treatment centers. The total cost of that has been around $2.5 million. And when we started, no one would help us with a venue, and we ended up renting a gun range for $6,000. We had around 600 people attend that. And this year we are expecting 3,000 people to attend. And to put that in perspective, that's larger than the attendance at the Phillips Backyard Brewery Music Festival. This growth shows immense community support and a need for the services we provide. Yeah, this is a completely drug and alcohol-free music festival. You can bring the entire family. We have a children's play zone and over 130 local vendors. We keep ticket sales down with donations. We have top billed talents like Canadian singer-songwriter Biff Naked and Fifi Dobson coming this year. This is a large-scale music festival production that directly contributes to sending people struggling with substance abuse to treatment. The difficulty is most festivals make profit from alcohol sales, and obviously we can't do that. So we're seeking donations from the community to fund the festival. I think it's an important event because it helps break down the stigma of shame of addiction by enabling people to openly celebrate their recovery. Currently, we have the city of Langford, who's given a cash donation and waived their fee for Starlight Stadium, which is where the festival will be held. Also, North Saanich, Oak Bay, West Shore Parks and Rec has donated their pickleball and tennis courts. And then we expect to have Colwood and Highlands contribute as well. Addiction is a widespread issue, and in this day and age, it's hard to find someone who hasn't been affected. We are grateful for your time and for any contributions or donations that can be made. Thank you.
Thank you, Ian. Any questions for Mr. Johnson? Okay, well, thank you, and thanks and great work, and good luck with the event. So, thank you. Okay, next we'll hear from Mr. John Hosgrove, Royal Canadian Legion.
Good evening, councillors, and thank you for this opportunity to speak before you this evening. The Royal Canadian Legion celebrates its 100th anniversary this year, and we are an organization that supports active duty members of the Canadian Forces, its veterans, first responders, their families, including seniors and youth. Two big things we're doing this year. One, as always, is providing a Remembrance Day ceremony, including a marching parade, the act of remembrance, and afterwards, a social get-together where we provide meals to all those who participate and view our ceremony. In addition to that, we provide a Christmas dinner, and this is for families in need. And it's age appropriate that each child gets a gift, a toy, and in some cases, this is the only gift they receive for Christmas, and this is very important to us. Sorry, I'm passionate about this and I'm having a moment. I'm also a veteran. And we respectfully request your support for us to carry on this good work. That is my presentation.
Any questions? Great, thank you so much, and thanks for your support for our veterans and community. So, thank you. Okay, we will next hear from the Vancouver Island South Film and Media Commission and Ms. Beck.
Thank you. Good evening. Thank you for having me here tonight. There's so many noble causes, and I have to say it's one of the things I enjoy the most about this role is going to each community and learning about it. So my presentation today is about the Vancouver Island Film Commission. We are a nonprofit that has been around since 1996. Our mandate is to attract film projects to the South Island in order to generate economic prosperity. So the best case scenario is there are municipalities in the Capital Regional District who take the funds that they receive from filming permits and parking permits and put it back into arts programs. That to me is a really beautiful circle that seems to be working well. In 2024, it was reported that the Vancouver Island region generated over 90 million in GDP through the motion picture sector. That's 5% of the provincial GDP. Our nonprofit is a team of two. We last year secured 25 film projects that worked out to be 300 filming days. So we support the productions when they come, and we help them find the locations like local businesses or private properties. And again, this is a way for communities to generate income so that you can pay for all these very important programs. And we're always happy to work with your team to figure out how to create that workflow. A big part of what we do is we come to locations like this and we take 100 photos. So when every single week producers send us their scripts, we read the scripts and we say, here's what that film would look like in Metchosin. And we provide them with all the photographs. Last year, our team of two created 123 of those lookbooks to market over 1,900 unique locations in the South Island. We're doing a pretty good job. We're punching above our weight. I wish I could get a piece of that 90+ million. But for whatever reason, the structures of the Film Commission in the province is just a little tricky. And so it really has to be driven by the region. If you want to see the benefits of film, the hope is that you might be in a position to support that. And again, I'm aware of all the very important noble causes in the room. One of the ways in which we became extra competitive last year was supporting the creation and the working of 2 sound stages. So we've been hearing for years that we need a sound stage. Being a child of the 80s, I was like, no one's gonna give this to me, so we're gonna get scrappy here. And we converted a warehouse into a working sound stage. And we got a variance on the land usage for 3 years. So that's helped us to have a couple working studios. They're not as fancy as some of them around the world, but it's working well. And we invited government. We had 5 government tours to see these working sound stages. And we also provide training. So as we grow the region, there's going to be inevitably an opportunity to upskill workers. So what I love about film is that you could graduate from high school and you could take a 6-month program and you could become a union film worker. It's a really great opportunity for people who don't see themselves working in an office. So last year we held a couple of different training opportunities with partners. We held an electric battery workshop. The film industry is very innovative with green technology. And so that is one of the training sessions we supported. We also had a safety workshop to support safety on set and psychological safety. Forgive me if I'm going over here. Last year and this year I presented at the Victoria Rising Conference. So a variety of things. And we also hosted what we called a regional summit at the Royal Roads University in January, and a variety of different provincial stakeholders came and spoke to our members. We have 400 members and 200 registered businesses, 2,500 registered filming locations, including this municipal hall. Last year, like I said, we 2024, we generated over 90 million, and we did that with your support. So thank you. Thank you.
Any questions for Ms. Novak? Okay, thank you very much. Film Industry Committee, sounds like career alternative. Okay. We're also going to hear from the Compost Education Center. So, and Ms. Hansen's being innovative here, so. Almost.
I can project my voice a little louder.
Yeah, I can hear folks, yeah.
Okay, wonderful. Maybe I'll go ahead and jump in. Good evening, everybody. My name is Haya. I'm calling in today from the Kwangin Territory, and I'm a staff person Councillor at the Compost Education Center. My role at the organization is to coordinate the child and youth education programs. I just wanted to start off by thanking everybody for taking the time to learn a little bit about our organization, about the work that we do, and also about how we might like to work together. So if you haven't heard of the Compost Education Center before, our organization is one whose vision is to cultivate resilient communities which enable the land and all the living beings to thrive. And we bring to life this vision by providing education to people of all ages on things like composting, gardening, ecology, things in that realm. We have a physical site that is located in Victoria in the Fernwood neighborhood, but our area of service spans the entire CRD, and we will travel out to those communities and deliver our work that way. Since it's my wheelhouse a little bit more, I want to talk a little bit about the child and youth education work that we do. So we have been doing this work for over 30 years, and our education team has delivered hands-on interactive workshops in CRD classrooms, community centers, school gardens, preschools, daycare centers, and also, of course, at the Compost Ed Center site. Our child and youth education workshops really kind of focus on topics like composting, soil health, seeds, citizen science, pollinator stewardship, and tons of other really neat things. This evening, we're requesting funding to support the development and the delivery of our child and youth ed program activities to District of Metchosin residents. And so together, we are looking to increase the number of Metchosin children and youth that we're reaching with our hands-on ed workshops. We want to increase our development of up-to-date ed materials, like educational print materials. We would really love to also increase our organization's attendance to a variety of community events where Metchosin children, youth, and families are gathering. And also we want to increase our effort to really get teachers super in the know about the awesome offerings that we have. Some of the benefits of us working together is that our work supports District of Metchosin's climate action goal to reduce solid waste. Another benefit is that there's increased environmental literacy, collective soil stewardship, and food sovereignty for all of the folks and their families who participate in our programs. Another benefit is that our education team travels to Metchosin, to their schools, learning centers, and your residents at no extra cost to them. And this is one that's especially important because from feedback that we have been receiving from folks across the CRD and also from teachers in Metchosin, transportation costs are increasingly becoming a barrier for them to be able to participate in unique learning experiences like the ones that we offer. So this is a really big accessibility piece. Another accessibility piece is that both myself and my colleague Jeffrey, who teach the ed workshops, are racialized people, and we really lean a lot on our own lived experiences to connect with youth in your community who, and in all of our communities, who experience discrimination and or racism. And another benefit as well is that our curriculum is designed to be really fluid and accessible to fit the diverse needs of the learning communities that we're serving. And so we are able to work closely with Metchosin teachers and educators to kind of co-create a workshop that will really allow things to land really well with the children and the youth that are in their care. And so this is just a little snapshot about the Compost Education Center and our child and youth ed work. Thank you again for taking the time to listen, and please let me know if you have any questions.
Great. Thanks very much, Hi, and I'm glad we had a chance to have you online eventually. So any questions? Councillor Donaldson.
Yes, thank you, through the chair. Thank you very much for your presentation. Just had one question. I have attended some of your programs, and they're very insightful, lots of information. You're referencing quite a bit about getting into the classroom, so I was just wondering what your schedule is like for 2026, getting into which classrooms in Metchosin, or are they scheduled yet?
So we have workshops Machosen, where we have some classrooms there, of course, that we're visiting. I have an upcoming one at John Stubbs, which I know is technically not in Machosen, but the catchment area is also Machosen students. So I've been in contact with one of the teachers at Hans Helgeson to try to get some workshops booked together, and already had some happen earlier in the school year. We've also had visits earlier in the fall in this school year as well to Raccoon Den childcare. Every year we also collaborate pretty closely with Reimagine West Shore. So a lot of outreach events, family things that we're doing where we know that Machosen families are also attending. And another one that we know we're going to be serving Machosen families is actually coming up this Friday. We work pretty closely with an organization that kind of corrals a bunch of different homeschool learners around the CRD. I've taught this group in the past, and I'm super excited to be teaching them again. And I know that some of the folks who participate are also families from Machosen. So we have, a couple of those that have already happened this school year, and a couple that are coming up quite soon.
Thank you very much.
Anyone else? Okay. Ms. Al-Duri, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay. So folks, we also, as you probably were aware, we did have a scheduled presenter from Access West Shore. She was not able to make it, but we have information from them. So yeah. Okay, so thank you to everyone. And we are now going to move on to public participation. So those who wish to speak and address this committee on any number of issues, please approach the mic, state your name and the street you're on, and you will have 4 minutes. Great.
Sylvie Saluk, Neff Road. Mayor and Council, good evening. Several weeks ago, a member of the public expressed concern at this microphone over the what might be termed the on-again, off-again nature of the conflict of interest declarations by 2 councillors. I admit that I was also feeling these actions to be odd. Did the councillors have a legitimate actual or perceived conflict in the discussions around permissive tax exemptions? Or does their quick about face suggest that there is confusion amongst the ranks as to what their legal obligations and responsibilities are? Because of this apparent confusion or misunderstanding, the public is left without an impression that some invisible ethical transgressions may have taken place. The result is a feeling of diminishing trust in the process and the parties involved. Since the matter of permissive tax exemptions has been settled on for this taxation year, what can this council do to avoid further distractions of this nature? Perhaps the mayor at some point could outline for everyone, especially community members who may be contemplating running for office in 6 months' time, what the guidelines are that apply to conflicts of interest with respect to governance and budget issues, and to also clarify what limitations are imposed in these situations with respect to participation in debate or discussion, with regard to voting, and to what extent councillors should comment in the public media if they have excused themselves from debate on a particular issue. I think that everyone would feel more comfortable with a signed and dated letter from an attorney to attest that a stated conflict of interest has indeed been resolved and how that was accomplished. It would be much better than the verbal promise that I've spoken to a lawyer and I no longer have a conflict of interest. That seems to pass for legal proof and permission to carry on as usual. Finally, we expect a lot from our elected councillors as they focus on their duty to represent the people of Machosen. They are expected to disclose conflicts in an open manner, just as they are expected to take a leave from community activities and affiliations that may prejudice them while they are in office. As always, Transparency is the optimum course to follow. Thank you for listening.
Thank you, Mr. Saluk. Is there anyone else for public participation? Okay, thanks everyone. We'll move on with the agenda. Thank you, Ms. Whitehouse. So moving on, we have a number of minutes to be adopted. Special Finance Committee, and you know, if everyone's good, I'm going to do this all at once. And any concerns? Okay. I'm going to move that the following minutes be adopted: March 5th, Special Finance Committee budget meeting; March 9th, Committee of the Whole meeting; and March 18th, Special Finance Committee budget meeting. Motion, Councillor Donaldson will second. Councillor Gray.
And just having reviewed the minutes, I wanted to express a special thanks to our CFO, Mr. Creek. You'll see in each of the minutes how he's, at the finance budget meetings, responded to the questions raised by the public and right at the meeting that we've heard. And it just seems to me, in the meetings, it's been terrific. And then going through the minutes, I just think it's a really good way of working. So appreciation to the CFO.
Great. Thank you, Mr. Craig. Great. And if there are no more comments, I'll call the question. All in favor? Great. Those are adopted. Now we have receipt of several minutes from our various advisory committees. Does anyone have any questions or issues? And if not, I'm going to do the same thing. I'll just make the motion and we'll move on. Okay. So that the following minutes be received for information: February 24th, Healthy Communities meeting; March 17th, Parks and Trails Advisory Select Committee meeting; March 17th, the Agricultural Advisory Select Committee meeting; and March 24th, the Machosen Environmental Advisory Select Committee meeting. So do I have a seconder? Councillor Donaldson. Okay, any comments or thoughts? Okay, with that, I'll call the question. All in favor? Receive for information. Thank you very much. Okay, item number 6. We have the Agricultural Advisory Select Committee amendment to the terms of reference. And if I could, I will turn to Councillor Donaldson for some background on this.
Thank you. As the council is aware, in 2024, we adopted the first ever Machosen Agricultural Area Plan. So the terms of reference, the committee would like them to be reflected instead of just saying the plan or developing the plan. The wording is to assist Machosen Council in implementing the Machosen Agricultural Area Plan to sustain and promote the agricultural community and improve agricultural viability within Machosen. And so that is what this is referencing. Thank you.
Are there any comments or questions for Councillor Donaldson, or just thoughts broadly? My broad thought is to me, this sounds like a very good move and a small amendment and just offers some clarity and direction. So Councillor Donaldson, do you want to make the motion? And we'll see if we have a second.
Sure. The committee recommend council approve the following amendment to the Agriculture Advisory Select Committee's terms of reference to strike the word developing and replace with implementing under the purpose of the committee, as long as the wording before says assist Machosen Council in. Second that.
Great. Seconded by Mayor Little. Councillor Gray, maybe just any further?
No, I've just referenced the terms of reference, and yeah, it's just expansion on the wording.
Okay, perfect. Councillor Gray.
Yeah, this looks great to me. I think it's important that we have our advisory committee available and working on the implementation of the plan from the perspective of the district. So we know now we've got the alliance, the Farmers Alliance, coming together to bring a perspective of the farmers. And then, but we, as a council and a district, have certain responsibilities in the plan, and having the help and the advice of the advisory committee makes good sense at this stage of the game. I appreciate the change in the wording of the terms of reference, and will support the motion.
Okay, Motion on the table from Councillor Donaldson, seconded by Mayor Little, and I'll call the question. All in favor? Great. That passes. Okay, item 7. So thanks again to everyone who presented. So here we go. 9 groups, $5,000. So committee, and I will, let's go to page 37. We see Mr. Creek's report here, and he's been good enough to give us some recommendations as well. We see the scores from the guidance table, the criteria table, excuse me, and of course the original requests. As I think a few of our speakers said, all of the groups are very worthy of support. Committee, I have some thoughts, but I want to turn things over to you folks first. Okay, hearing crickets. Oh, Mary Little.
So I'll speak on behalf of Access West Shore, formerly called Interdisciplinary Action Committee on Disabled Issues or something like that. Anyways, they were quite involved in Metchosin before, and now providing lobbying and education for accessibility. They're a very small group, but they do dynamite work for their community, and not only for their community, but they also welcome everybody else that is able-bodied in the community to join in. So I would definitely be in favor of providing them the small tuppence that they've asked for, $250. Thank you.
Committee, if I could, I'm going to speak in favor of, if you go to page 41, it is on Schedule J, it is option 1, which Mr. Creek has provided for us. In my assessment today, working through this earlier today, I was going to be, hold on a sec, more in favor of providing funds to groups that are very specifically Metchosin based. But what is interesting is when we hear the presentations is we hear that there are Metchosin connections with all of the groups. Now with option 1, what everyone is obviously not going to get what they want, but they are going to get something. And we did hear from a number of groups that even a little bit of a contribution is going to help. What I do note is the Equestrian Society will get their full allocation. The Canadian Legion will get their full allocation, which I think we have a good history in this district of supporting the Legion and the important work that they do. Access West Shore Society is also going to get their full allocation as well. So there's a number of groups that are actually meeting their requests fully. But with option 1, we do provide something to all of the groups who have applied. So that would be my preference. Mayor Little.
Yeah, I concur as well. Even though the Royal Canadian Legion branch is not in Metchosin, they certainly do invite us to all of their events, their Remembrance Day events. I attended the Vimy Ridge Remembrance Commemoration last Thursday evening by invitation from the Legion, as well as their Christmas. And they do really great work for citizens in our region. And even though they're not in Metchosin, the boundaries of Metchosin, Langford, Colwood, in terms of our community members, are liquid, and people move. And we have many veterans that live in Metchosin. So I like your idea of the proportional allocation to the number of the different groups. Thank you.
Councillor Donaldson.
Oh, thank you very much. So as maybe some people in the room aren't aware, but 2 years ago we decided to change the evaluation criteria to find a different balance of how we disperse the $5,000 that we do have, which isn't a lot of money. And generally when people are applying for grants, they don't get just a small part of it. They either get a full amount or a larger amount. And so usually if people apply for grants, they know that they get or they don't get what they're actually asking for, not so much smaller portions of it. Therefore, we came up with a criteria to make the process easier for us, and the CFO has given us a report here based on that policy for the eligibility criteria, and each one in our package has the evaluation criteria chart, which is public. It is on the website, so these groups can have a look at that to see what their total points were out of 100 and where they can improve or see how they scored against other groups as well. So I appreciate the CFO fleshing through all the details for us. There are a lot of people needing financial aid, and it isn't a lot of money that we do have to offer, but certainly it is helpful no matter what. So in respecting the policy, there are 4 different options that are in front of us here, and trying to go down to where the options are here. So option 1 would be proportional allocation among all groups, so everybody gets a piece of the pie. Proportional allocation among qualified groups. Highest scores among all groups, so it's based just on scoring. And then the 4th option, highest scores among qualified groups. So they've met all of as many as the criteria that we've actually asked for in our matrix here. And that would be the one that I would be supporting, is option 4.
Yeah, I think I'm probably okay with any of the options, but what I'm concerned about in the sense of distributing some support to the various different groups, Councillor Schuppe, you've mentioned all have good purpose and help out for our community. What I guess I'm concerned about is our process, and as Councillor Donaldson mentioned, we went through the trouble, staff put together, policy, so we had some criteria to work with. And I recall last year we didn't, we had the staff look at the criteria, lay them out, and then we decided not to use the criteria and gave a proportional allocation amongst all groups. And then we may well do that again today. So it seems to me that we need, if we were to proceed in that direction, then we should perhaps go back to the drawing board around the criteria and why are we measuring it. I'm not entirely, another improvement we could make, so one would be to look at the criteria and see if they make sense to us, or if it's just simply an idea that everyone can apply for money from us, and depending on the amount that they ask for, we'll give it to them. Or we say we're going to have new criteria that better help council make a decision. In that way, too, I think that it would be a good idea to put the criteria up on our website. I didn't see them immediately there, and so I'm not really sure if people applied against the, applied thinking they looked at the criteria and said, gee, I think we're going to be able to get a grant here. And now we're like the granting agency, and we may be setting the criteria to one side. For example, our note says that the following applications do not meet the current policy requirements. Rewired Recovery Foundation, because it's held outside the district. Royal Canadian Legion, because it's held outside the district. And the Vancouver Island South Film Commission. It's a request for operating funding. And I think also the Construction Foundation of BC work is situated in Langford, so it's outside. So none of those would qualify for funding according to our policy. So I'm just having a bit of trouble granting funds to groups that don't meet our policy. On the other hand, I remember when the Forge group came forward and Rewired came forward. I hope I remember properly. As a council, we said, hey, put your name in the granted aid. And kind of like that day, we sort of threw them over to that as if they would qualify. So I guess I'm thinking the issue of cleaning up on both ends, how we do it, and then what we're telling people when they're applying for these grants and aid.
Okay, thank you for those comments, Councillor Gray. If I could, I would look to you at the appropriate time to suggest that there be a relook at the criteria. This will, of course, not happen until next year with the election on the offing, though. So, and this is a really tough one because there. Obviously, what is going to influence choice here is there will be a political vision of what we believe the community's values are and the broader regional values as well. So that we will never be able to escape those criteria or no criteria. So,
yeah, certainly. And I think what I'm thinking of is we don't have the criteria correct. So what adjustment might we make? And I'm thinking of the words you offered a moment ago about these services that are provided, let's say regionally, to residents of Metchosin. Maybe they should rank as much as things that occur within Metchosin. And so that would be a change in the criteria that we could make. What I'm just having a bit of trouble with is, golly, people applied against a set of criteria. We don't want to change them right in the middle here. That's the part that's got me concerned. So the staff have advised that the scorecard provides a standardized policy-aligned evaluation to support equitable allocation decisions. And I feel like that's correct. On the other hand, I do have the same sense as you do, Councillor Shukin, that, gosh, maybe I would have scored them differently. I wonder if their criteria are correct, and then I'm thrown into that question of maybe a relook at their criteria would be a good idea. And I would say if we go to the proportional allocation option one that you're suggesting, then at the same time we should commit to deal with the criteria, because it would, rather than this time next year, it should be done early so we know where we're at. So I'd say just get to it sort of fairly promptly while it's still fresh in our minds.
Okay, thank you. Okay. So, Councillor Gray, do you want to make a motion that we reevaluate the criteria?
Sure, I would make the motion that the finance chair work with the CFO to assess the criteria in light of the experience of this the last 2 years.
Okay, great. We have a motion on the table, and Councillor Donaldson, you're named in that motion. Are you okay with?
Yes, and I'll second that.
Okay, great. Second. Yeah, I mean, I think it's a fair thing to put forward. I do appreciate the work that Mr. Creek has put into this, because even if we don't agree, it does help us with an evaluation and an assessment. So I was coming up with my own sort of alternative schemes based on what I thought would be the appropriate allocations. And I've got like 3 tables going. And I think we'd spend about a week here of us convincing each other of plus or minus $100, $200, something like that. So, okay. Any other comments? And I'll call the question on the motion. Councillor Johnson.
Yeah, so when I actually did do the research on this 2 years ago and then worked with Mr. Creek on pulling it all together, and that was from collecting information from other municipalities, both here on the South Island as well as smaller rural communities in the interior. One of the local communities was very specific that all the beneficiaries the money had to stay in their district, but because we're Metchosin, we don't have a urban structure where we have services, so we would have to rely on services in our urban neighbors neighboring municipalities. So this is where the organizational effectiveness and capacity part changes for a lot of these groups in the agenda package tonight. And this is why the scoring has changed. So that is the part that I would probably focus on a little bit differently, because we're finding that we're kind of tripping up on this. Having said that, I respect the process that has happened in the last 2 years and have supported it, and as well as the results that the CFO has put together for us in a package. Otherwise, we would be sitting here for probably an hour debating, going back and forth, and nickeling and diming things. So we went to a higher level, and with staff taking on the policy that we created here at the table. And so yes, I would support the motion for another time, not to affect anything that's going on tonight. So we'll deal with this motion and then move on to the next. Thank you.
Great. Okay, so I will call the question. All in favor? Okay, great, that passes. Okay, with the matter at hand now, I am going to make a motion, the following motion, that the committee recommend that council allocate funding based on a proportional allocation among all groups per table 1 in Schedule J. So that's on top of page 41.
I'll second that.
And again, with a seconder, I'll just really quickly mention this approach is something that I'm putting forward based on having input from the groups who have presented, and I think they make a very worthy case in terms of the value that they provide the West Shore, and again all the Metchosin connections as well. I had been inclining toward option 2, mainly because it allows us to have the Equestrian Society involved as well, but it didn't have the Legion. And I think like I said, I think we have a very strong history of supporting the Legion and the community work they do. So this option 1 is inclusive of them. So, and like I said, we had a presentation from the Forge of the Construction Foundation of BC, and I think they have a very compelling, they do very great work as well. We're not giving them, of course, the amount they have requested, but some level of support. And again, same with that goes with the Rewired Recovery Foundation. So.
Just want to highlight something that the presenter from Rewired had mentioned, and it's actually in my councilor's report a little bit later. We are owners, one of the owners of West Shore Parks. And for the first time ever, West Shore has offered in kind for their fundraiser for the pickleball this summer. So they don't have a lot of expenses there, and the gentleman did say that that's a big fundraiser they'll be doing, big pickleball tournament in the pickleball courts and the tennis courts. They have done one with Victoria Pickleball as well. It's been very lucrative and very supportive for Soberfest. So I think what I'm trying to say is we are already providing a service to Rewired through that venue.
Yeah. Okay. Fair. Yeah. Councillor Ray.
I think given the what we've just done, and we'll take a look at the criteria and see what we can do. I want to just mention that for me, part of the criteria setting might be the issue of, what actually are the projects being undertaken, for example, social and community focus, agriculture focus, education focus. So that might also be a useful thing to look at. I'm happy with the proportional allocation in the sense that it includes the local groups, the Metchosin Equestrian Society, Metchosin Grown Society, the Metchosin Preschool. What I'm a bit distressed about is I would like to have given more money to the preschool for the benches in the village square to get that rolling, and a little bit more help for the Metchosin Grown Society. But I recognize we could talk on about this. You put a motion on the table, it distributes the funds, and I think I can certainly live with the motion there. But I think we could do a better job in future. And I mean that not as a criticism of anybody or any group or anything, just a better way of tackling this.
Okay. Yeah, this is a tough one. Of course, again, 9 groups, we have $5,000, and again, everyone is doing worthy work. Yeah. Okay, if there's nothing else, we will now raise our hands or not. So I will call the question. All in favor? And opposed? Okay, that's carried. Thank you. Great. Okay, and again, thanks to Mr. Creek for helping us sort out through all this. So we next go to Councillor's update, and we have one update from Councillor Donaldson.
Thank you, Councillor Shukin. So just a couple of highlights. The Agriculture Committee hosted their first in the speaker series recently at Bilston Farm, and it was based on agritourism. There's an article being written for the Muse as to what took place. We also will see this week an article in the Goldstream Gazette, as we did have a reporter on site who interviewed several people. And there'll be some photos attached to that, so look for that. Also, earlier this year, I had applied for a BC Hydro Regreening Grant and worked with CFO Creek on this. We have been awarded up to $3,500, and the funding for this is to go into a pollinator hedge. You'll probably have seen, or maybe not even noticed, there's a small meridian about 140 feet long and 3 feet wide, 3 to 4 feet wide, in front of the parking lot, in front of the school field. And so looking at our OCP and the Machosen Grown Society having their garden as well, and learning about pollinators and what they do, and complementing the native garden that went into the refurbishing of the Machosen School Museum. This to me looked like it would have been a really good opportunity for us to enhance our boulevard and can do a continuation of what had been started at the museum. This grant was much more, and it involved things like trees and such, but as we don't have a full plan for what to do with the village core in enhancing it, and as well as the school site, this was a good place to start. So I'm really pleased that we actually, I think now I've probably to date applied for 4 different grants, and this is the very first one that has finally come through. And so this will be, has to be finished before November. So we're just looking for different steps and stages. Public Works was part of this granting process. They will be taking out the contaminated material that is there, digging it down. They'll also need to do a call before you dig, because we don't know what kind of infrastructure is in there. So they're equipped to do this sort of thing. And then I'll start working with volunteers, and Katie Nelson was part of this, and Taylor, in doing some schematics and putting all the appropriate plant lists together for me. So I'm really pleased that this is coming to fruition. It also fits into the agriculture, because this is about pollinators, birds, bees, insects, all sorts of different things. It will also, because it's native plantings, it'll be drought tolerant. We do have access to water there, so the first few years is going to take some tender loving care. Moving on to, let's see, a few other things here. As some of you know, the local farms, there's been at least 4 of them have had their stands open throughout the winter. Many more will be putting more products on the shelf for us, so keep your eyes open for that. Machosen Grown Society, we've heard from them this evening. Every 2 weeks, they're doing work parties. They've been working on a communal garden plots this winter, and at some point in the future, we'll be doing designated allotment plots. They're busy doing lots of fundraising and applying for grants as well. Infrastructure they need is fencing, irrigation, and equipment storage, so they've got lots of work ahead of them. Farmers Market will be opening up on Mother's Day, May 10th. New this year is a second food kiosk, so that's already under construction. West Shore Parks and Recreation have already touched on the Rewired Recovery fundraiser. We did have a presentation from the maintenance supervisor. As I reported previously, one of the things that they've been innovated on is taking heat from the ice. It's hard to understand this, but they usually make it very easy to understand. And they have not translated, but somehow transposed that into heating the childcare center upstairs in the complex. And now what they're doing is they're optimizing, capturing that heat from the ice and supporting heat for the pool and the hot tub. So these are all climate action kind of things, and they're very excited about this sort of stuff. So those are some of the exciting things that they're doing. We are sad to say that our CEO of the Greater Victoria Public Library will be retiring this year after 15 years. So there's recruitment taking place as we speak. Maureen Sawa has brought a lot of great things to the library system in Victoria. I've had the privilege of working with her on the Island Links Library Board as well. Some of the things that she has done is introduce innovative programs, eliminating the overdue fines, expanding initiatives like the Emerging Local Authors collection, and her and her staff, she'll never take the credit for all of it, of course, but she has an amazing staff and she's empowered them a lot. They're so well organized when we have our board meetings. We're in and out within our lunch hour that we have, so she'll be really missed. And the next thing that I have here is a topic called wayfinding signage. So you may recall about 2 years ago when CAO Payette joined our team, he came to us and asked us that we had about $800,000 in surplus, and each year we're going to be having less of it as we get tighter budgets. And at that time, I had inquired about wayfinding signage. We have a lot of sandwich boards scattered throughout the village core on the two main streets, and so this evening, what I would like to suggest is that the following motion, I'll read the preamble first, is that it supports the use of what I'm calling the Village Commons, which is a clear and accessible wayfinding identifier for the Machosen School site. The name itself reflects the site's function as a shared multi-use community space, aligns with the community, the official community plan, its reference to the area as a village, and assists residents and visitors in navigating a site as it continues to evolve with a range of services and activities. We've had lots of different discussions in the community here in this room and at this table about a name for the site. I'm not suggesting a name for the site specifically, because I recall even my own comments saying that as it evolves, maybe we will come up with a name. Having said that, I also respect the fact that the Machosen School, if we retain the signage that's already on the building, I believe that preserves the recognition of this valued community landmark for the generations of the Machosen families that hold it near and dear to their heart. So the wayfinding sign itself is more geared to what is going on in the building. 2 years ago, we didn't have a number of tenants and activities that we do see already today. And I'll thank both CAO Payette and CFO Creek for the capacity of getting more and more tenants in here, and it is growing. So we're at a point now where, you know, we've got the preschool, the wellness collective, soon to be a clinic. We've got pickleball going on. We've got Mile Zero, and and I have no idea how all of those classrooms are going to be used, but certainly things are evolving. So my recommendation here tonight is that the Committee of the Whole recommend that Council approve the use of the name Village Commons as a primary directional identifier for the district-owned chosen school site, and direct staff to incorporate the name into the wayfinding signage and related communication materials as appropriate.
Okay. So, so Councillor Donaldson has put a motion on the floor, and I'm going to ask if there's a seconder.
Sure, for discussion.
Okay, so Councillor Gray has seconded the motion. Councillor Donaldson, anything further to ask? Or to, sorry, not ask, to mention?
I'll wait for the discussion.
Okay.
Thank you.
Councillor Gray.
Well, it sounds like a reasonable idea.
Okay. Well, very little. Go
Yeah, thank you. And I appreciate the work that you've done with this. My concern is that I'm wondering if this will confuse things. We don't want more confusion. What I see as the problem is when staff is referring to the Machosen Old School, and others are coming from other areas to the village core, that they don't know exactly where to go, and it's difficult. It's not difficult. It's just cumbersome for staff referring to that site as the old Machosen School, because then the question is it the Heritage Old School, or is it that, or are we talking about Hans Helgeson? And I'm just wondering if we're going to add to the problem with you say it's not really to characterize the site, but it's to identify the site. So the site, you're talking about the grounds, the whole site is going to be the village commons, and within that whole site of the village commons is the Machosen Arts and Cultural Center, the recreation center, the gathering space.
Okay, so the wayfinding sign will be at the driveway entrance, right? Generally, that's where wayfinding signs are. Very similar to what we have with the marquee sign. The only difference with the marquee sign, it doesn't have an address on it. It doesn't say Machosen Municipal Property or Fire Department or whatever. So it is similar, and it's been designed in such a way, or would be designed in such a way that fits with the bike shelter and the bus shelter. It will have its address right there on it. It'll have the list of the not the activities, but the businesses that are there. MACA already has one right at their front door, so it doesn't need to go on there. On the bottom of it, any events or activities that would be going on a monthly basis could be there as well. So these signs would be sliding in and out. They're informational. We could continue being disorganized and having rows and rows of signage up Machosen Road and down through Happy Valley. We're already seeing an additional couple of sandwich board signs. This puts it all in one spot. It makes the place look professional. We are open for business. This is something that the residents have been asking for the site to be revenue generating. I don't see it as being confused at all. Usually when there is a change, it's just a matter of time for people to start using the appropriate language. Village Commons is it. I mean, we could have a sign out there has nothing on it and it just says what's going on in the building and continue to be Machosen School site, and we can all agree that that's also created confusion. It does not say Machosen Elementary School. We do know that deliveries are going to the wrong place, oftentimes straight to mile zero when it's for somebody else in the building. So at least this way, the people that actually have businesses there will have an address to go to.
Thank you for that clarification. And is it your hope that all of the signs, the sandwich boards, will all disappear? We're going to ask everybody to remove them after this structure is in place.
So that would be up to staff to do that, and I would suggest that is probably how our sign bylaw is probably worded in that regard, but I haven't looked at it recently, so I'm not sure.
Okay. Thank you. Just a few thoughts myself. I kind of like the name Village Commons. What I'm having trouble with, though, is I'm not clear on what the sign is you're talking about. It'd be neat to get a visual of that. I've heard you describe it, but it would still be neat to get a visual where it's going to be placed, how big it is, etc. And what is it? What job does it do, especially in terms of advertising other businesses that are there? But the other thing that I'm a little uncomfortable with is I feel like we should get more buy-in from other community groups as well. Sorry, not community groups, but the groups that are operating in that area. At least awareness that this is something that's being contemplated. So I wonder if we might. Councillor Donaldson, I commend you. I think it's a workable name for sure, and I think it would be interesting to get the word out that this is what we're talking about doing, and how it will be applied in terms of, again, the big sign. So, like Mayor Little, I am concerned about finding a name for the school that allows us to increase the marketability of the building itself, and more clearly identify what it is. So it'd be neat to see where that fits in. The idea of the commons is really great because it covers both the old and the new, and then the field as well. So, and in some ways maybe even the historic school as well. But I just wonder, I guess my question to you is there a way of, again, shopping the name around, or at least exposing people to the name?
So the wayfinding signage there is a drawing, it has been engineered, it will go in place. The secondary part of that was it needs a name. So how this actually came about, again, I was applying for an accessibility grant in January. In order to get into some of these grants, this is just I'm trying to make this a short story because this is not something so simple now, it has bloomed. In order to get into that grant, to find out what the questions were, I had to create like a fake profile. So I put in something like the chosen school. And when I did, it then profiled me as a school, which it is not. And for the accessibility, it was a $40,000 grant. We needed a ramp, we needed outdoor lighting. So I thought, perfect, this was coming up, the deadline was coming up. So then I had to change the name because that's not what it was. And so then I put Village Community Center. This came out because it's in the OCP. We've got community hall, community house, centers for this, that, and everything else. So as it got narrowed down, I started actually researching names, which was not my goal. I just wanted to fill out an application for an accessibility grant. In the end, we didn't apply for the grant because of staff capacity is something that comes up every year. So we have an opportunity in the future to do that. That's where this sort of started. And then again, looked at all the names. If you don't know you're in Metchosin, you just have to, stand in one spot and look at Metchosin. So we eliminated Metchosin at first, thinking, okay, village, but there's only going to be so much room. So, it just narrowed it down after 12 different names and looking at what commons actually means. What does a community mean? What's a hub mean? All these sorts of things. This was the simplest. We don't have to put this on. This is just the best that came out of all of the research that I did. The wayfinding sign is going to go in. It's kind of like a bought and paid for sort of thing. Certainly we could ask the businesses. They are the stakeholders that would be affected mostly. This is something we hear from our staff that, nobody knows where the school is, et cetera, et cetera. Some things go to the school museum. It's not even open, regular business hours, or things will, people get mixed up of where things are. This is an identifier. It's an identifier for the actual site, without starting to split hairs of, the field and everything else. We still, as you know, have a lot of work to figure out We've got the draft management plan with what's going on inside the school, so we started that process. There's much more work to do, but right now we have businesses that need to get their deliveries. They also need to have their clients find where they are inside that building without littering the property on the side of the road with a bunch of little tiny signs and risking having the wrong size of signage because people don't know we actually have a sign bylaw, etc.
Yeah, hearing you, the discussion, I guess I think the wayfinding sign sounds like a good idea itself. I think there's a nice nuance here with a name for the area. Councillor Johnson's proposing Village Commons, but the idea that we leave the name on the school for the traditionalists sort of solves the two issues. Maybe the question is whether the name is Village Commons or something else. And seems like an okay name to me, but perhaps as you're suggesting, Councillor Shu can get the wayfinding sign underway, but find out what the title should be on it, and talk to the people there. I guess the question becomes, who else wants to have a say on what the name would be, and how do we do that? It's been kicked around a lot, and there are different names which all seem fine. But I guess I like this idea of leave the label on the building itself in its historical context, but have the sign saying this is what this area is. It's a whole mix of different things going on, and the idea of there being the activities at the location all sounds like a good idea to me.
Councillor Donaldson, the one question I have is, I don't think we've had a lot of background on the sign itself. Like budget, size, where it is, etc. So I think it's really important to get more information on that.
Absolutely, and I had suggested that to staff, and that's in staff hands.
Okay.
So certainly we can have that brought to the next council meeting if the committee of the whole is interested in this motion going forward to the council meeting, then it can all be part of the same.
Okay.
That would probably be a separate motion to have those drawings brought forth in the agenda package for council, I guess.
Yeah.
Perhaps if we did pass it tonight, then we can always turn it down to council, but we get the drawings. I don't think you need a separate motion. It would just go with the motion, and then in this intervening week or so, a little conversation with some of the people at the school, see if there's objections or it's in favor, and then we can come back and talk about it some more. And also raise the question, how do we talk to the community, or do we want to do another poll or whatever?
Okay, I'd like to propose an amendment to the motion, and it would be along the lines of, so the motion as it is here now, that the Committee of the Whole recommend that Council approve the use of the name Village Commons as the directional identifier. I would like to amend it to be Council consider the use of the name Village Commons. And if I could get a seconder for that, I'll explain.
Sure.
Okay. So I am uncomfortable with approving or even making a step toward approving something where we haven't seen the structure where the name will actually go, and also being seen that we're somehow imposing a name without talking with some of the stakeholders at the school. But I like the name, and I think the word consider as opposed to approve allows us to be much more open-ended and maybe provide staff with some time so they can get us a sign and all that. So that's what I would think.
Sounds good.
Okay. Any other discussion on the amendment? Hearing none, call the question, all in favor? Great. Okay, so is there any further discussion? We have an amended motion, and is there any further discussion on that? Okay, seeing no hands being raised, I will call the question. All in favor of the amended motion? Great, okay. Thanks so much. Okay, we now have a request for a development variance permit 3767. Thank you to the applicant who's here and who's waiting through our splendid process to get to this matter. Here, I'm just going to, okay. Okay, so the main request here is to reduce the front yard setback from 7.5 to 3.2 meters. Ms. Johnson, do you want to come up and just give us a quick overview, or thank you, just to make it worth your while for attending here tonight?
Good evening. Yes, the purpose of the variance application tonight is to reduce the required front yard setback for a new addition to an existing principal dwelling at 3767 Happy Valley Road from 7.5 meters to 3.2 meters. This will allow the owner to enclose an existing breezeway that is between an existing house and an existing accessory building, to create a new main entrance for the house and to add a secondary suite over top of the existing garage and the new main entrance. All of the proposed structural changes remain within the existing footprint, so there is going to be no expansion towards the front lot line or towards Bilston Creek or within any part of the lot. The owner has had environmental and geotechnical reviews completed to confirm that the site can safely accommodate these proposed additions and that no riparian areas will be impacted. After a planning review, from a planning perspective, the proposed variances can be supported. It's a minor variance. It's respecting environmental constraints. It's adding a secondary suite to support local rental housing, and mainly it's being accommodated within an existing footprint on a challenging site. Also, one note: the draft DVP in the agenda, attachment 7. Will have a Schedule A attached to it. So if this DVP goes to council on May 4th, the Schedule A will be the site survey plan that is an attachment to. So my apologies for forgetting to include that. The applicant is here tonight. Should there be any questions? Thank you.
Great, Councillor Gray.
Thanks. I had a couple of questions that I think are probably straightforward. So through the chair, the septic system is described as a package sewer treatment. Does it have pipes in the ground, or is it just the actual box or whatever is used there? I'm thinking about this being a riparian area, and I was just unclear.
Through the chair, if that's okay, I'm going to have the owner answer that one. In the environmental report, they did have the current system assessed, and it can accommodate the proposed secondary suite. But I'll let the owner answer.
Yes, I think maybe I saw that note, but then it went on to say we're waiting for confirmation from the septic people.
So there is as part of the building permit. Yeah, that's
okay. Well, I'm curious to learn about that. The second question I had was, will there be adequate space for parking? We have locations in Metchosin where there's parking on the road and busy locations. This to me seems to be a relatively busy road. And I'm curious if there's adequate parking on the property.
Yeah, through the chair. Yes, according to the owner, there is ample parking. There's parking, existing parking that is in front as well as beside, and I believe that there on the survey plan it shows that there's one existing behind as well.
I did maybe a different question, just related to the riparian area. As you note in your document, the entire property is within the streamside protection and enhancement area associated with Bilston Creek. All of this, though, is an existing footprint, so it's already been kind of we moved on to that, into this so-called the SPIA. And then I see in your document that the qualified professional says, okay, they don't think there'll be any effect on the proper functioning of the creek. So the qualified professionals giving their thumbs up. Does that then go to the province for a review, or does it stop once the environmental professional gives us the advice to say it need go no further?
Through the chair, in this case, since in 2014, the wrapper was completed and sent to the province. Now that there's nothing, it's all within the existing footprint. It just stays with the environmental assessment to the district.
Thank you. My final question was just about the environmental assessment mentions removing the limbs from the tree that's fallen into the creek. Is that become part of our approval, or is that just a different advice being provided to the landowner, property owner?
Yeah, through the chair, that is outside of this variance permit. That will be something done between the applicant and the qualified professional, and it's often looked at with the building permit portion of the application.
Thank you. It seems like an important thing to take care of, given the description that we received and the effect potentially on other properties and other landowners. Thank you.
Great. Any other questions for Ms. Johnson? Mayor Little.
Yeah, and thank you for your report. I was looking through some of the drawings here. It looks like there's not a lot of space between the creek and the upward part of the bank and the proposed site. I'm just wondering when the creek swells, do you know if it comes up? Like, how far does it actually come up when there are these, like during the atmospheric river, when we had the incredible rains? Thank you.
Through the chair, I'll let the owner answer that specifically, but from the reports, the waters at the 200-year flood event, when it swells, it does not reach the area of the new addition, according to the geotech reports.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
Great. Thank you, Ms. Johnson. Mr. Evans, if you wouldn't mind coming to the mic. And we have two questions for you. One is on the septic system. The other is on I think probably your experience with the heavy rain event, especially the one that happened, I think it was in 2021. But even some further background on what you're hoping to do with your property. So
right. So my entire land is in the riparian area of the Bilston Creek floodplain. So where my existing house is the only elevated portion of land that is 200 or 600 millimeters above the 200-year floodplain, which is required by the bylaw, which is why I'm asking for this variance. Well, it's too close to the property line, but being the only portion of my land that is actually elevated high enough to not be flooded.
any further insights you can give us into the septic system?
The septic system, yeah, it's a type 3 whitewater system. And I did have it inspected by a septic guy. He's still doing things to it. He wants to confirm the effluent quality coming out of the other end is sufficient. But he says the capacity of the field and the tanks themselves are sufficient to add and exist another bathroom or bedroom for the additional suite.
Great. Okay. Mayor Little.
Yeah, and thank you for asking or answering our questions. In terms of the septic field, does it's in front or in back, I guess, of the house towards the creek, right? Or is it on the side?
It's on the opposite side of the garage.
Okay, so it
the
would
main dwelling
face sort
in
of
between.
south or southeast?
Yes, so that would be east. I have an actual septic drawing, kind of somewhat survey, if you like to see.
If I may, you were about to say it's on the other side of the house?
Yes.
Yeah.
And so it's a pressure dispersal field, so it's all pumped.
Thank you.
Pressurized.
I will mention, Mr. Evans, and a reminder to the committee, is that every DVP that we've had, we have done and made a request for a site visit So that, I think, is going to be part of our way forward as well, so you can
Yeah.
show us where things are.
So I understand.
Great.
You'll be able to see yourself, there's ample parking.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, and I will just mention on page 197, there's a map as well, and there's a number of representation of cars there as well, so yeah. But great. Any other questions for Mr. Evans? Okay, thanks very much.
Okay, thank you.
So folks, the options before us now, they're to initiate the process for notification of the nearby landowners, or they're to deny the variance permit. My sense is we've heard nothing tonight that would cause us to deny it tonight. So what I might suggest is we go with option one, but also ask staff to arrange a site visit as soon as possible. So can I have someone move option one?
I'll move that, option one, to direct staff to notify landowners within 60 meters of the subject property of the development variance permit application DVP number 2601, including its purpose and the date of the council meeting at which the application will be considered, May 4th, 2026, and that staff arranges a site visit.
Great.
Second.
Could we have those in two separate motions,
For sure.
please?
Yeah. Okay. So we'll go just with the first part of what Mayor Little had said. So second, Councillor Donaldson will second. Any further discussion? Okay, call the question. All in favor? Okay, that's carried. And Mayor Little?
Yeah, so to ask staff to arrange for a site visit for the property on Happy Valley Road.
Great. Seconder, Councillor Donaldson. And further discussion? Seeing none, call the question. All in favor? Great, and that's carried. Okay, great. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Johnson, for being here tonight. Great. Okay. And so, Councillor Gray, you have an update, verbal update.
Yes, I have just one item to mention this evening, and that is that I think maybe the rest of council has been made aware, but certainly residents in the community have been made aware of an application by a group called One with Nature Corporation to set up a survival school on Crown land that is bounded by East Sauk Regional Park. The Capital Regional District have come out strongly opposed to this, and Mayor Little may be able to tell us about that. But also Al Wickham, the Wandafuka director, is opposed. And what's going on is that an application has been made to the Crown Land Commercial General Use within the Ministry of, just look and see here, the Ministry of Water, Land and Resource Stewardship. And I took a look at the proposal. There's a process where people apply to get a lease on Crown land, and then the public has asked for input, and there are presently 24 more days to provide input. Comments will be closing on May 6th. The application is for intensive use of a site for outdoor education, wilderness survival, and bushcraft training for kids and adults to include 5 cabins, a learning center, a carving shop, a bushcraft practice area, kayak storage, a change room and storage, animal processing shop, food preservation shop, a bow shooting range, survival shelter demonstration and practice area, tent camping area, and 7 washrooms. Like many residents, I'm concerned about this application, and I oppose it. From what I've learned so far, and I'll be putting in a personal note as the government's asking for individuals to make comment. But I wanted to raise it tonight so that more residents would be aware of it. And the CRD's opposed it. Al Wickham, as I mentioned, the Wandafuka Regional District Director. I wondered if the council would be interested in entertaining a motion that we might then also make our views known if we want to do that. We wouldn't be doing anything effective tonight, but we could put it on the council agenda next week. And so I just wondered if people were interested in that as a council action.
So So, Councillor Gray, do you want to make a motion to that effect?
Well, I could do, or I can maybe just ask the mayor if we could put it on the agenda and have a discussion of it next week. Whichever works.
Mayor Little, any thoughts about?
Yeah, I think, but in fairness to the rest of the committee, I don't know whether everybody has been briefed regarding the Crown Land application, and so I think it would only be fair to bring it forward to the next council meeting with some information. As Councillor Gray has already alluded to, the Montefeuille Director Al Wickham, as well as the CRD, have strongly opposed this application. In defense of the applicant, he followed all the rules and all the guidelines. And so he wasn't trying to circumvent the process. He was wanting to put in an application, which he's done. What he failed to do was take a temperature of the community and the culture. And so there are talks going on. I know that Director Wickham had met with him and had explained how beloved this area is. He has received correspondence from the CRD. The CRD itself is strongly opposed to this. In reviewing the materials, I would not be in favor of this application as well in East Hoop Park. So we can put it on the agenda, but in fairness to everybody, I think we should have some information there regarding the application. So perhaps Councillor Gray will provide that information for staff.
Certainly, if we all put that on the agenda, I can provide the links so staff are got all the details. That'd be great. And we can have an agenda package then. Thank you. Appreciate that.
Great. And yeah, there is quite a bit of information circulating around, and I too have responded. So, yeah.
That's all I had for tonight.
Okay, sounds good. Okay, great. We'll keep moving on with the agenda. So we next are at Section 8, Correspondence, and we have a letter from the Friends of the Bufferland requesting council direction on academic research opportunities supporting the Bufferland. And we've heard, I'm going to ask Mr. Simpson to come up and just do a quick walkthrough of the letter and also the research and the opportunities that this presents. And again, thank you very much, Mr. Simpson. You've helped spearhead now a few great events at the Bufferland, and it's really great to see citizens working toward care and protecting and stewarding what is a public land. So.
Great. I guess I got to bring it home. And I apologize for the length of the letter that's in your package, but I hope it demonstrates the thought and the work that this volunteer group has done. My name is Richard Simpson. I live at 1287 Boulder Path, which is off of Neald Road, which is where the Bufferland is located. I'm here as a representative of the Friends of the Bufferland. We're volunteers committed to the preservation and restoration of Metchosen's 113-acre Bufferland green space. I'm also recognizing that the work we've done over the last many months is kind of leading us that a Friends of the Bufferland volunteer group, I think we need to start thinking about creating a non-profit for this organization for, to improve its sustainability. So it's something that we're starting to think about. In the letter that you have in your package, we are really here to ask council's thoughts on supporting the development of research opportunities and specifically clarity on council's position regarding the pursuit of academic research partnership in the Bufferland and specifically with Royal Roads in support of the protection and conservation of the Bufferland. And we're asking your thoughts on direction on the appropriate process for considering research projects. And the Friends of the Bufferland, in our early deliberations, we actively sought out relationships with Royal Roads, and we've had great success. We've had a master's student who is interested in doing their thesis focused on the bufferland, and recently we've had the Bachelor of Business Administration school contact us with developing a number of projects for their I'd say first year students, so shorter 4 to 6 to 8 week projects. And so we've done that, but we really think we need to get council's blessing in terms of how we move forward that. We are a volunteer group, and we really think we've got the capacity to consider these applications and have discussions with Royal Roads and work with them. But we really need your guidance on how you would like us to do that. We recognize again that we're a volunteer group. We're doing the work we can. I think we're again building momentum. In the document that that is provided, we have provided a number of rationale statements about why we think that research is required or beneficial to the bufferland, and we would use those rationale statements to evaluate, although that's a bit of more of an academic term, evaluate the proposals. And so we'd really like to start now having those more substantive discussions with Royal Roads on the kinds of projects that we could do. We have given some thought to what some of those projects might look like, but we haven't had specific discussions with them. In the business administration area, we really think that some of the thoughts that we have is how can we build community engagement? How can we use more social media to get engagement and share information about the activities that are happening in the bufferland? So those are the sorts of things, and in the initial discussions with the business administration folks at Royal Roads, they clearly had an interest in that way. We're not talking about environmental scientists here. We're talking about more folks that are in the business administration area that could help us do that kind of work. So I don't think I need to go through this lengthy letter, but just to say that I think we have done a lot of work thinking about this. One of the things that we will be working on as the Friends of the Bufferland is working more on a longer term overview strategic plan for the area. Research will be a component of that strategic plan, and that strategic plan may include things like signage that we may need, like work on Metchosin Creek that goes through the bufferland. What invasive species? We're not invasive species experts. Maybe we need to engage some professionals that are going to help us with the invasive species removal, but also the restoration work that needs to happen. So there's fencing that will be required. So these are the sorts of components. I think we've got the capacity, and I'm going to say community expertise, to develop these things, and we may come back, or we will likely come to district staff or council to further flesh out the components of what the strategic plan will look like. Right now, we're talking about research opportunities with Royal Roads and possibly other academic institutions in the CRE.
Great. Thank you, Mr. Simpson. Before I ask if there are questions, the one thing I'll just remind everybody is the Bufferland Working Group, which Mr. Simpson was a part of, recommended this very thing, going out to post-secondary institutions to see about research opportunities. So wonderful that this is being followed up. But any thoughts or comments to Mr. Simpson, or we can talk amongst ourselves? Councillor Donaldson.
Thank you very much, Mr. Simpson. As always, you're very, very thorough, which is why I enjoyed working on the working group with you as well, and coming out to all the work parties. It's a lot of fun. Mm-hmm. And it's nice to see that we're now getting an appetite from the broader community, specifically the post-secondary, because it's something that I too am passionate that, you know, we have had a UVic student out previously. and there are environmental studies at different universities and colleges. So this is good. This is good news. My one concern is, and you've kind of touched on it, is the Friends of the Bufferland becoming maybe an incorporated society or something like that. And the only reason I'm suggesting that for a lot of different things, but we have seen that in our community with the Chosen Day committee not being a registered society, and there's insurances and liabilities and so on and so forth and waivers. And one thing we have been careful of, and you've shepherded us with that as well, is making sure we're signing in and signing out when we're going into the bufferland, so we're accountable for who's there and what time, just tracking and stuff. So I think staff will probably be able to give us more information on, waivers and people from post-secondary going into our public property. This is not an area of my expertise, but certainly is a concern what our liabilities are, and being just a volunteer group, not to be taking responsibility for those liabilities too, which again is all the more reason to become a society and have your own insurance. I mean, that's just a whole other layer, but that's probably my biggest thing is how does this really fit with having students coming on and doing a study in our public lands, and that's something that staff, I'm sure, would have more information or be able to get the information on. So that would be one of the big concerns, not concerns, but a subject that I think we do need to address. Thank you.
I think one of the advantages of the business administration students that would be doing on this is it would be unlikely that they would take many, if any, trips into the bufferland. A lot of this is like academic work that we do, like in terms of building community engagement strategies, that kind of thing. And when I started this, I thought I'd be pulling a few broom plants. I didn't think it'd get this complicated, but it gets really complicated. So I recognize that one of the things I think we don't need to do it now. We need to do it right. I live pretty close to the Center Mountain development. The houses aren't there yet. We've got a bit of time before all those Langford residents will show up. So we have some time to develop the proper framework of what this is going to look like. And one of the advantages of the bufferland, because it is a rural adjacent to a very high density residential area, is this is a unique opportunity for researchers to look at what will that look like. So it's not a completely rural or wilderness area within the boundaries of Metchosin. It's right on the edge. So it's kind of critical that we have some work in this area done so that we know what that looks like. So I'm really grateful that there's somebody that wants to look at it.
Yeah, thank you. And thank you, Mr. Simpson. I really like the idea that you're going back to what was discussed at the working group, and that there's been a commitment from the Friends of the Bufferland to hold the principles of what you've stated. What is the initial purpose of the bufferland? And I also like the different research ideas in terms of ecological health and biodiversity, land stewardship, the community engagement piece, and how is that best done, as well as monitoring the data, as well. The rationale statements that you have here, I think, are very thorough, and I like the idea that you included the community commitment, that the community, the residents have demonstrated that this is needs to be protected and restored, and I can't see why we wouldn't reach out to the post-secondary institutions, because they've got a lot of brain power as well as a lot of capacity. I also suspect they have insurance for their students going out to different sites as well. So I would encourage this, and I would also encourage you to become a nonprofit. I think that will help with the insurance question.
Yeah,
protect you as well.
Good, thank you. And in terms of the rationale, I mean, one of the principles that we will have is that although during the broom pulse, we've had residents from Colwood and Langford that have come and helped us to do this. Anything we do, it needs to be very clear, this is a Metchosin-owned green space that we're trying to protect. And folks can come on and help us do that, but they have to be, it has to be very clearly communicated that this is a Metchosin buffer land to protect Metchosin from whatever else is going on out there. So we need to work in harmony, but this is a Metchosin plan.
Great. Councillor Gray?
Yeah, just through the chair, thanks, Richard, for the work you've been doing. You asked, the first question was clarity on council's position regarding the pursuit of academic research partnerships. And I fully support that, and it sounds like the rest of the council do as well. And then my only addition would be, you mentioned Royal Roads. Well, let the academics come. So you mentioned you, Vic, but whoever might be interested, and it's really cool that you're getting onto this.
Good, thank you.
Folks, I did some thinking about this, and I also had some earlier conversations with Mr. Simpson, and I have a motion that I would like to put out that maybe helps address a go forward action, and also the questions that Mr. Simpson has brought to us. Mr. Payette, maybe you could take this to Ms. Hanson.
This is different than the motion on the.
It is, yeah.
On the
Yeah. Yeah. So here's the motion. I'll read it slowly, and it's 3 parts. Hopefully Ms. Hanson finds it acceptable. So first of all, to the first question, that the mayor write a letter. Okay, sorry, this committee recommend that the mayor write a letter to Royal Roads University indicating that we're open to facilitating research that better helps us understand the environmental values and attributes of the bufferland. So again, yes to research that's environmentally focused or community focused, if you will. So the second part is, and that we direct the CAO or council designate, so it could be one of us, to work with Friends of the Bufferland to facilitate such research, including insurance needs, with Royal Roads or other post-secondary institutions. And the third part is that research requiring significant data collection and or longer term activities on the bufferland be reviewed by council and or PTASC and MEASC as appropriate. That's a really long-winded motion, but what it does is indicate support, moves ahead ideally with research, especially if it's done on a desktop level. And then if there's anything more significant, it comes back to council and PTASC and MEASC for a second look. So I probably have broken some sort of procedure by explaining it, but if there's a second.
Yeah, I'll second that.
Oh, sorry. There. Oh. Yeah, sorry, I've said all I probably can say, but the one thing, the one thing I will just say in addition is I don't think we should hang up research interest in bureaucracy, but at the same time, I think we have to have a little bit of sense of what is possibly going to be done with the buffer, and especially if there's going to be, again, data collection, whether that's, interviewing people or monitors and creeks or whatever, that council should be aware of, and maybe we need to get PTASC's and MEASC's views on things as well. So that was the one thing.
I was wondering if I could ask Mr. Simpson, does that encapsulate what you were asking for this evening?
It does. One thing is we want to be fairly nimble. Like, we don't want, as you say, we don't want to be hung up with a CAO where has seen many emails from me about what we're doing, and we will carry on doing that. If we reach a spot where we think we really don't have the expertise to do something, we're more than eager to ask for assistance or help. It's just, I think there are some of these things, and again, one of the things I talked about was improving community engagement. That's not technical expertise necessarily, and so I don't think we need to go to, for example, PTASC to have a discussion about that. There may be something that is more specific that we would, and one of the Friends of the Bufferland Volunteers is a member of PTASC, so that's very helpful to us. And so we'll be having discussions about that. So I think it does serve us well.
Yeah, I agree. We don't need to get caught up in things and especially take up more of Mr. Pyatt's time. And the reference to PTASC and ask is if there's more on the ground research happening. So, yeah.
Exactly.
And one of the things that in the second part of this motion is a council designate. So whether it's maybe Councillor Donaldson, myself, or Councillor Gray, or whomever can work with you as well if, depending on Mr. Pyatt's workload. So, yeah, I think it's.
Yeah, through the chair. Can you just give us time to think about that part of the motion?
Okay.
Before we come to any, just so we kind of beat it around and see what would be best. Doesn't really fit an A1 select committee yet, that I can tell.
Yeah.
So let's think about it, but the world needs more David Simpsons. I just must say that.
David's my brother.
There is one actually. Okay. Councillor Gray.
So I think we're hearing some caution from the CEO. So it's nice to have the motion, but maybe we need to have the staff take a look and figure out next move, without being bureaucratic, just clarity. For me, I guess I'm a little bit uncertain about, bureaucracy. At the present, for example, we have people studying seagulls in Wauchoson, and they don't have any agreement with us to do that. They're studying seagulls. And we reported on that here and brought it forward just to let people know. And each year they come back and do another survey of the seagulls, and they let us know they're coming. I think the reason they're letting us know is politeness, but also it would help if somebody sees someone trapping a seagull. Then they call the district knows there's a research project going on. So I don't really want to hinder research by setting up a bunch of processes that we say, we got to go through approval and the CEO has to see it, or MIASC has to do it, or PETA. It just seems to me that if there are people interested in doing research, and at the moment I don't think there's any formal limitation of access posted for the buffer land. If people want to come in and do this research, and you've had a good chat with them, Richard, or they talked to the PTAS group, who are now, we see in the minutes, they're talking about the buffer land on every agenda. It'll be an agenda item. So there's places people can plug in, and let's go. Let's get the folks out here and do it without too much barriers. I guess that's what I'd be concerned about, is just setting up a series of steps people need to go through. So the Seagull people I don't think they ever came for our approval. I don't know that they did. Here, great. And likewise, if the university gets involved. So I guess I'm wondering, what would be approval criteria anyways? Well, we've got a very good run at what you call rationale statements, but let me say, and I mean this in a complimentary way, you covered the waterfront. So there isn't anything that wouldn't fit practically. So anyway, I'm just wanting to give the CEO time to give us some advice back on the motion. At the same time, promote the work, and let's not stop you from doing things.
I think if I could answer I think one of the things that we notice as a resident of the area is that I know there are vehicles parked outside the entrance to the buffer land on a daily basis. I don't know what they're doing there. I know there's off-leash dog walkers there that are regularly, but I think there are other people that are doing other survey work of some kind, whether it's environmental, whether it's whatever it is. I think one of the things we can do is trying to set up kind of communication. Who is on the buffer land? What are they doing? If we're working with academics, we really don't want to encourage duplication of research. And so if we can start to be that kind of air traffic controller of what's going on in the buffer land, we'd like to do that to make sure that things are efficient and things are moving along, that people aren't running over each other trying to count frogs or whatever they're doing.
That sounds great. Yeah. And I mean, I think one of the things that, I don't know if we need research, but I know PTASC in their draft plan is going to raise the issue, or has raised the issue, of the dog walkers. So that'll be a topic that we will be covering, I think, not too distant future. But yeah, let's promote the research that can be done and see what we can do. Maybe I could ask through the chair, Richard, have you kind of, I'm not just exactly sure of the process, but Councillor Shukin was working with the CAO on a park stewardship role. Has the Friends of the Bufferland taken that on and saying, well, we want to be the stewards of the bufferlands in terms of that relationship? And you set it all up, I think, Councillor Shukin. I was thinking you were the stewards of the bufferland, but I just wanted to check if you've had that communication.
If I can be honest, I'm not going to walk into the bufferland with a chainsaw unless the CAO tells me I can do that.
I think the stewardship is, well,
And
Councillor
Shukin
could clarify for you, but it's not a role of a chainsaw. Maybe you could just lay that out, Councillor Shukin, how it works.
Yes, so the trail steward role, I've been reflecting on this in terms of the bufferland, because it's really the role right now is typically it's one person, one trail. So for example, we have a trail steward for the Blinkhorn Trail, Blinkhorn Nature Park. We might look at one for Wayne's Rock Trail or the LeBon Road Trails or something. So it's an individual. Friends is really a group of people. There's a fit there somewhere, but we haven't really had time to talk about it yet. And maybe we look at stewardship group or something like that. But it is a way potentially of plugging an individual into sort of the district's process, and giving them some sort of officialdom in a way in terms of what they do and how they understand how they report issues if they see them. So yeah.
And that may well suit, because I mean, just what you were describing, Richard, the idea of keeping an eye on what's going on, and I think that's what the trail stewards are doing as well. So maybe there's something to be done there. I thought early on, this is the group to be the trail stewards on the bufferland, but however it works is fine with me.
If I could answer, Councillor Gray, I think we're eager to do that. There is some moderate work to do on the trail. There's one large tree across the trail, and there are a number of other trees, smaller trees, that we could get at. But again, I don't think we've, until we've had the conversation with the CAO, we would be very reluctant to take that on.
Yeah, I think the steward job was more keeping an eye and then letting the CAO know when there was a tree down, that sort of thing, and then going from there. Not to be doing that kind of work.
So just clarity, or maybe just input. Historically, when we have had stewards, and I think of Mr. Nan as one, because he's been an amazing steward in one or two trails actually. Those are people that are living closest in the neighborhood, and the bufferland, Friends of the Bufferland, is very similar. It's a group of neighbors that are stewarding, and they're going in and doing invasive species control at the moment. So similar situation, just larger number of people. So it is a neighborhood of stewards, not wielding chainsaws or anything like that. But certainly as they become more organized and whatnot, then we have, and getting to be very well known here in the chambers for sure, and with our staff. So we have our, our check-in lists, and I don't know if we go to the route of waivers or whatever, but keeping that reporting going on with our staff is critical. But certainly it's they are stewards in just a larger group for sure, because it's a neighborhood as others.
So perhaps Councillor Shukin, I could prepare an amendment to your motion, just striking out the last two paragraphs and keeping the first one. Would that be fine? So the amendment would be that the mayor write a letter to Roosevelt University Bachelor of Business Administration, indicating that we're open for facilitating research that better helps understanding the environmental values and attributes of the bufferland.
Yeah, just on the topic itself, that looks great, and I'll support the motion. I just wanted to mention, it wasn't that long ago that we talked about setting up a specific reserve funds for the bufferland, and I know that requires a bylaw and it'll take a little while to get it done. But I wanted to point out that we can provide support certainly in terms of volunteer efforts and perhaps some staff time, but we do have some obligations that the council have given to staff already that will cost significant money this year. That's planners' time and legal time, where the money this year will go to those other purposes. So there's not likely to be much dollars available for this kind of thing at this particular point. That's the park designation. I'm looking at, I forgot the process. We got about 4 points. So just to say that the finance side is probably fully used, I expect this year.
Okay, anything else to say? Okay, I will call the question. Yeah, and thank you for this. Guess what, folks? We have no other business, and
Councillors, you can, if I could just remind everybody, tomorrow we have another engagement opportunity, Coffee with Mayor at 2 p.m. Everybody welcome to come and ask any question under the sun.
Wonderful. Okay. Thank you, Mayor Little. And with that, a motion to adjourn. Councillor Gray and Councillor Donaldson, thank you so much. Okay, we are adjourned.